4.7 billion people. Click, scroll, like, a disposable world, an insight at a touch of a button, a generation consumed by knowing the ins and outs of a stranger's life. But you don't know these people as well as you think you do. This is just the highlight reel. So I'd spend about 8 or 9 hours a day on my phone, which is wild if you think about it, because that is majority of my day looking at a screen, looking at everybody else's life rather than living my own.
So people look at me as Amy with the blue tick and the thousands of followers online. They won't look at me as a human being, and therefore I think sometimes people's opinions, the way they speak and their actions towards me can be irrational, so that is a massive con to social media.
Whereas now you can say what you want on social media, and if people don't like you, they'll just abuse life out of you or not follow you.
My name is Gavin. I'm a TV, radio and a media student, and I like to post on Instagram. I think the term influencer has a lot of negative connotations. There's a preconceived idea of who they are and what they do. You see all the highs, but you're not told about the lows until you're there. I wouldn't consider myself an influencer, although I've dabbled in the industry, and my following wouldn't be large enough to become solely reliant on that as a career. My current following I've been out for a while, and I would notice if the numbers go up or down. In the back of my mind, I'm like, who's unfollowed me? Why have they unfollowed me?
My name is Amy Wiley, and I am the founder of Active with Amy, which is an online coaching service that prides itself in bringing movement and mindfulness together. There's like a certain outlook on an influencer, obviously from online settings, but I do think that people in everyday life can be an influencer as well. It goes much broader than just the online sense. I find it so funny when people look at influencers as like these abnormal people just because there's a K after a number beside their name on a screen. Like, it's all bizarre to me. So
my name is Johnny Smacks.
I'm Johnny B. We're the two Johnnies, podcasters, full-time chancers. You like to be called an influencer until you become an influencer. Then you don't want to be called an influencer.
We won't see ourselves as influencers or celebrities, to be fair.
You have something in your head like 200,000 Instagram followers. And I remember being at 199 and being like, oh, it'll be class when we get to 200,000. And then one day you go on and you have 200,000 and it's like, all right. What an anticlimax.
It matters at the beginning, I think. It doesn't so much now.
I think I have a love-hate relationship with social media. It's very easy to get drawn in. I think it was almost designed to be that way, that it's aesthetically pleasing pictures or short videos, that it's easy to just lose track of time and scroll through mindlessly. There is the negative side in that you do start judging what other people are doing, and I suppose part of it is human nature. It's the comparison of, why does she look that way and I don't?
I like to think my relationship with social media is really good. For me, if it wasn't for my job, I don't think I would use social media as much, but obviously with it being my job, I need to create. I'm a content creator, so I do spend quite a lot of time on it. But again, I use social media to create, not to consume. I wouldn't say I compare myself to other people that I see online, and the reason that is my answer is because of mindfulness. Again, another thing that I teach. When you're mindful, you can catch yourself doing things like that, and when your thoughts start to wander and when you start to compare. So I like to catch myself when I do that. Of course, comparison will always be there, and like you'll see a picture of someone or a video and be like, oh, why do I not look like that? Or more so if I was to say content creation wise, I'll see a video and be like, oh, that did better than mine did, and I'll catch myself thinking, oh, why is that? But there's absolutely no point in comparing because everybody's different, everybody has a different audience. So it's more so, yes, the initial thought will be there, but I don't let it go any deeper than it needs to be.
I've given up social media for Lent. I gave it up because I was just wasting time on it and not posting or anything like that. Not like I would give the excuse of, sure, it's work to myself, but it's not. I was just scrolling. I had an awful habit of, like, if I was sitting down here now and my phone, I'd just pick it up, check it, put it down. Probably doing that 40 times a day.
I didn't necessarily go out of my way to try and grow a following. It started out in 2019, I went for Miss Ireland. So when I was in Miss Ireland, I would have collaborated with quite a few brands. We would have been sent out PR packages and expected to post them online. I think my ethics have definitely been questioned with products I've promoted, and there's definitely regret there. For instance, there was a tanning company that I worked with, and I cannot stand fake tan, and we were expected to post it, but I kind of went a roundabout way and didn't put the tan on, and I photoshopped my pictures darker and still uploaded them, still tagged the brand, they reshared them and never knew that it wasn't their tan that I was wearing, and ethically that was wrong. Would I do it now? Absolutely not. I suppose I was so new to the industry, didn't really know what I was doing, that I was like, right, I have to do this, I have to post this to make these people happy. On the other hand, the people that were following me weren't seeing the reality of it.
I got into the industry by complete accident. So in 2017, I went to college, slowly lost the run of myself. So I set up the Instagram page, more so for my own progress. And then from there, it just snowballed and grew and people started following along with my journey. I think within 3 months it had hit 10,000 followers, which to me back then was absolute foreign nature.
We just started making content we liked, writing funny songs, writing sketches, and kept putting one foot in front of the other and trying to grow it. Johnny was more inclined to make it a career than I was.
You know, if you wanted to make it before, you had to get on television, or you know, you'd have to be in a newspaper, you'd have to be everywhere else. You don't, you can just do your own thing on social media, whatever it is you do.
I've definitely struggled with my mental health on and off over the years. I suffer with really bad anxiety. I think social media can increase that. It does make you question yourself and am I good enough? Why am I comparing myself to everybody else? I definitely think social media has a link to the decline in people's mental health. I've seen it firsthand. I lost a very good friend of mine last year to his battle with his mental health. He was a huge social media influencer and a huge advocate for positive mental health and men's mental health and suicide prevention. We don't know the exact reasoning and we'll never know the exact reasoning, but I think I've seen firsthand the extremities of it. I have lots of outlets on how I try to manage my mental health. I'd be a very creative person, so I use that as an outlet to keep myself positive, and when I'm struggling I tend to channel that energy into art. So I draw, I paint, I go through phases of cross stitch. It's little things like that that aren't heavy as a way to take your mind off things.
Yes, I've struggled with my mental health. I won't say it has directly come from social media, but it would be from me being on social media, if that makes sense. It's hearing things said about me by people that, say for example, I know, or people from where I'm from, that then gets back to me, and that will cause me to overthink, because again, I am a human at the end of the day. I do have emotions. When you don't hear not so nice things about yourself, you're going to think about them that extra bit longer. Don't think it's something that has affected me hugely, but yeah, there will definitely be days that mood will be affected, or I'll look at myself in a certain way, or overthink about what I'm doing and if what I'm doing is the right thing. But so I do quite a lot for my head. The main thing being is exercise. I am an online coach, personal trainer, sports nutritionist. That has always been a massive part of my life, and I like to share that with others as well. I spend a lot of time in nature, do a lot of sea swims, I do a lot of cold water therapy. I actually do quite a lot, so if I was to go on with the list it would be very long, but
stats are out, lads. Stats are out from 2010, 11, 12 on. People's mental health is getting worse when Instagram blew up. Yeah. We're not able for you should really have a training course, but at the time there was your parents couldn't help you because it was new to them too.
Yeah, they hadn't a clue. It's probably still don't. It's particularly bad with teenagers when they're in those formative years. Now, we weren't too bad. We were probably the first generation that probably would have had it a little bit, but not major. You'd be updating your Bebo once a week, but say 13-year-old now, 14-year-old now, they're just constantly probably on Instagram looking at other 14-year-olds or 18-year-olds or 30-year-olds going, I don't look like them, I don't get to go on private jets like them, I don't get to go on fancy holidays like them. So they're definitely in those formative years comparing themselves to others. That's definitely dangerous, and of course people only put their best things on Instagram.
I think because I don't have a massive following, I'm not inundated with hate all the time. Now I have had my fair share of nasty comments or messages from anonymous accounts saying, oh, you think you're all this and you're all that, which do hurt. It's easy to say, oh, it doesn't bother me, but subconsciously it will, and it will niggle away at you, whether you like it or not. I tend to just delete the message and try and ignore it and get on with my day, and I know that's a lot easier said than done.
I wouldn't say anybody has posted anything nasty about me, but definitely have gotten nasty messages and emails. You have to control it yourself. It's unfortunately a part of the influencer world and working online. So again, just blocking it out. I find that I get more hate from real life than I do online though, which is such an interesting thing. I'm from a small town in County Clare in Ireland, and word does get back to you quite fast, and especially when you do something that's considered outside of the norm. So there would be like, you know, not so nice things said about me, but the way I look at it is everybody's going to talk regardless of what you do, so you just have to move on with it and just make sure that it doesn't get to you too much. Humans thrive off social connection, being with people in real life, and that has been completely thrown out of the water because of social media. And people can use it as a form of escape when it doesn't do that for you. Obviously you're getting your short-term gratification, your quick dopamine hits and stuff, but that's not where, you know, positive mental states are going to come from.
Yeah, at the start, like, look, at the start when you start doing sketch and stuff today, you'd be fucking checking every comment, like, seeing how many comments there is.
Some lad would insult you and you'd be checking his personal profile, going, calling his house like.
Yeah, you'd be taking it personally. Like, when I used to work in Super Value, and I'd be looking at comments, and then someone would be like, get a real job. I'd be like, I fucking have a real job. Stuff like that. So you'd be checking at the start. Then you just get used to it, and it becomes second nature. Obviously, like, we're almost cancelled, so, like, there's a bit of hate there, alright, but like that was tough for a couple of days, and then you're like, right, like there's a lot of people that like us, so you focus on that rather than who doesn't.
Like, popularity comes and goes.
Yeah.
You just concentrate on your own. You make something that you can stand over in 10 years' time. I would like to tell people when they're young, you don't have to have an opinion on everything. And if somebody is an actor or musician and they're online and they're busting their ass all their life and that's their life's work, and then someone will comment, you know, that's useless. That can break someone's heart, and should the person comment and mightn't have a clue. We've seen so much stuff written about us in comments, and I feel like you'd love to pull every one of them aside and be like, would you like to know what really happened? You don't understand the industry or whatever, but so you don't have to have an opinion on everything. And the amount of stuff we'd see and you'd be like, cheers, that's mad. Will I abuse the life out of him on Twitter? I won't. You know what, there's probably a lot more to that story than meets the eye, so I won't say anything.
There is no point going online and being a completely different person than you are in real life. You have to show up as you are, because, for example, if I was to be online as a certain character, we'll say, if someone was to meet me in real life and I was someone completely different, where is that authenticity and where is that trustworthiness that you need from being an influencer? So yes, I still play camogie, I still go to the pub and drink Guinness, and I still show that, as well as, you know, doing what I do in my job and promoting what I promote, because influencers are normal people at the end of the day. The first thing that springs to mind if I was to give advice to someone that wants to go into the industry is to make sure you back yourself. There will be a lot of hits, a lot of negativity, as well as obviously, Joe, the bad things. There will be the good, just to put that in there, but there is a lot of the negative side of things, and I think you need to be a resilient person, know what you really want, and know that it's not an easy job, and it's not something that people will look at influencing or online content creation and be like, oh, do they even work? I get that question all the time. Do I even work? I work so much, and there's so much behind the scenes. So no, you have to put the hours in, but if you're willing to do it, absolutely do. And number two, there's no such thing as a perfect time. So just start and you'll get better and learn as you go along.
If you want to make videos, just concentrate on videos, and then nothing else matters really. Like, if you're good at it, other things will happen off the back of it.
Yeah.
You know, you can't want to just be famous for the sake of being famous. Or you can if you want, but I think that's a dangerous path.
You have to be prepared to work hard as well. Like I know, like we are chancellors. Don't get me wrong, like, but we worked hard for the first 3 years. We didn't make a penny, and the first year of the podcast, it never turned a penny. It never turned a profit. It never made us money. You have to do that, and then as well, I think you kind of have to be yourself as well. If you're going out, if you're on social media or you're on a podcast or you're on TV, whatever it is you get into, and you're not being yourself, that'll catch up with you eventually, because you can't keep that mask on all the time. So I think you have to be yourself, you have to work hard, and you have to just focus on it and not worry about what anyone else thinks. Yeah, it is a real job. Like, you're obviously getting an income and you're working more hours than you probably ever worked in a normal job, really, if you want to call it that.
We wouldn't half-arse something we loved, and like really caring about the podcast and even the radio show. Yeah, we could cut corners and play more songs, whatever. We like to put it in. I think when you start, you're a bit heavy. You know, you can slag people too much and not realise that, you know, we'd be better now, like. But that's what you're like when you start. You don't give a fuck. You just...
You don't think anyone's going to watch?
Yeah.
And, like, we look back and go, that could have been better. Sure, we learned from it then as well. So you're like, you're as well off getting a few things wrong.
Oh, yeah. You never get it right. You just get it less wrong.
Yeah.
Just get slightly less wrong every time.
I think I'm definitely part of a generation that is trailblazing for social media. Its emergence came about in our core developmental years. We've grown up with that and we've seen it change, and we've adapted to that, whereas the generations before us might not have. They would have lived a completely different life at 24 than I am. I don't think that society and government and the world is able to keep up with the growing pace of social media. It's great that these things are being developed, but nobody is looking into the negative sides of them and how detrimental it can be to somebody's mental health or physical health.